Hi folks, it's Eddie here from AF Travels. Today I'm going to do something slightly different. As you know, I've been converting the van into a camper, but I also have another passion. And the reason for doing this video is she's covered over 50,000 miles and I've been on her for the 50,000 miles. So I bought this bike new. Wee bit of background, I've been driving bikes 45 years plus, on and off. And I was driving mainly Japanese bikes, 4 cylinders, very fast screaming bikes all through the years, and it got time then to slow down a little bit, and I was going to do a little bit of touring, and I didn't know what to look for, and I didn't really want to move away from the Japanese brand, be it Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, any of those things. Kawasaki's, I'm sure I'm missing some, but they're fantastic bikes, way back in the 70s and all that type of stuff. I'm sure people remember the RDs, 250s and 500s and 250 GTs, X7s, all that type of stuff. Absolutely brilliant. That was the 2 strokes, and then the 4 strokes come in, and the Firebase and that type of stuff. But anyhow, I've been looking for a bike to do a little bit of touring, and I wanted to settle my head a wee bit and slow down because look, I'm getting no younger. So I set out a task to look for a bike. Now, it took me about 2 to 3 years. I knew I wanted it. I wanted good suspension. I wanted something that was comfortable, bit of power, bit of grunt. When I got off the Japanese bikes, I took one of these out. I always fancied a BMW, a GS or so, but when I took one out, after coming from the Japanese, I said, look, this isn't for me. I'd wind her up and I'd wind her back, and there was no real screaming out of her, but she wasn't designed for that. So that was about in 2014, right, I need to go and look for a bike. I was sort of pointed in this direction. Again, multi-strada was out there, so I thought, okay, but in my criteria, I want a drive shaft, so this one had it. There wasn't much out in the market, only these GS that suited me at the time. That's what I wanted. Now there's loads of bikes out there that suits other people. But there was an XR, she was a 4-cylinder. Oh, she was some baby. She could travel now, but I was doing 2 up. The back seat didn't suit the wife. So look, there's compromises and everything in life. So I ended up with this girl here. But again, why I'm making the video is because she's covered over 50,000 miles, and I've done the miles on her, and I've mainly done the servicing on her. I can tell you some of the things I like about her. Now there's negatives too, of course. And the positive things about her is she's low down grunt. She really suits 2 up for touring. The wife really likes the back of her. She's easy enough on fuel. And also, if the bike went over, believe it or not, this old boxer engine here, where you see the gears here, if she falls over, but she'll sit nearly at 45-degree angle, which means you can lift this bike up. Not easy, but it's achievable. As opposed to an R1200GS, for example. Fantastic bike they are. I like them. Japanese, bulletproof. But when they go down, you really struggle to lift that bike up on your own. You'll manage this one, you'll really struggle with a 1300. Again, they're a fantastic bike. I know a couple of guys that has them and they wouldn't part with them, they just love them. Again, they said they're a little bit heavy. Now this isn't light, this is heavy. But the boxer engine's slightly low, so she's a bit more manageable and easier balanced. The other things I like about her was really the suspension. I can soften the suspension, harden the suspension. When we are on the drive, for example, going up to Wicklow Mountains, I can drive fairly hard up the road. I'm not going mad, but I'm going steady. On the 2 up, not a problem. I can hit a switch here, takes 25 horses out of her, put her into rain mode, into a soft suspension, and she just floats up and down. Suits me to a T. Back out on the main road again, hit the switch and stiffen up the suspension. This bike has got a telelever, what they call a telelever suspension. Basically, for anybody that hasn't got it, if you were to drive your bike, come in at a fairly decent speed and put on your brake, your bike will nosedive. When you come in with this one with a telelever suspension, she'll come in and she'll sit down on the ground, something like that. So you haven't near the same pressure in your arms. I'll just show you that telelever suspension arm here. It's an additional feature in the front of the bike, and it sits in the middle between the forks. And as you can see, every bike out there had a set of these forks on them. But this bike, if you look up in underneath, right in the middle, that's our wee baby there. This is this telelever suspension here, and that's electronically controlled. The dry shaft was another thing I liked about it. That's mainly the things that drove me. There was a couple of recalls on this bike, on all GSs and RTs and that type of thing. One of them was there was a wee crimp put on the top of the shock in here. There was the drive shaft recall on this bike. So any of these bikes that has over 36,000 miles, they'll replace the drive shaft because it says it wasn't a serviceable item when you went to give it in to get it serviced, so they didn't service them. As a result, then there was problems with some of them, not all. I serviced my own, but again, there's been a new drive shaft put into this, free of charge, of course. They have to cover it. I drive on Michelin tires. Oh, I also replaced this wee yoke here. There's the drive shafts in here, and the oil goes in round the back here. That had been replaced. Oh, by the way, there was another recall when I'm down here at the drive shaft. I never got it done. It's really for people going through water and off-road and bits and pieces. They drilled in underneath here, and they put a wee bung in there to let the water out. So that was another recall. Again, they'll do that free. I never bothered with it. I'm not going to bother with it. I did put some extras on the bike. I put on these crash bars, for example. I have a wee camera on it here. The sat nav, again, expense. 600 quid for that little buck, but it does more than sat nav. I can tune it up and I can look at my tire pressures, I can look at oil pressures, air temperatures, different wee things. It's all controlled by the wee magic wheel here, which is a fantastic idea. Mudslinging keeps the inside ever clean. I put spots on this bike. Down back you'll see them better maybe. And I put a wiring loom on, which is, I don't know if you can see it with the light coming in, that comes on. So she's wired up. When I put on the ignition, it comes on. When I turn off the ignition, the light stays on for maybe a minute and a half, then goes off automatic. But I also have the ability to turn it off here with a switch. My mate gave me these lights. He's an engineer, he has his own company, and he says, look, I have lights. They were looking something like £400 or £500 for these lights. So I got the lights off my mate, and I bought the wiring loom from Amazon for about, I think it was £35. I did put a wee screen on here to protect the headlight. For that headlight could be £600 or £700 if she gets hit with a stone. I put a wee extender up here. The screen that comes standard was just slightly low, not much, but slightly low, so I can open my helmet and the wind goes up over my head. I also put on a wee set of radiator guards. You can see them in there if you can. One there and one on the other side, just in case a stone would hit them, and that's it. They were punctured and then I would she'd heat up. She's a 2016, and how she stood up to the driving, I think she has. I think she stuck it very well, to be honest with you. And I also like these boxes. These boxes are a fantastic box. You just put it down, and if I'm going touring, there's a wee handle in here. Pull it down, as you can see, the box extends. Pull her back in. Absolutely brilliant idea. I have the top box there. I put on a bigger foot because it's standard. The foot's just too small. These bar risers, now they're only on about a month. So I've been driving this bike for the best part of 7-8 years, and the way she was standard, I put these on. I find I'm a little bit straighter on her, alright, but I find I'm just not as steady on her. You know, I find, look, it might take me a little while to get used to it. The servicing of this bike then, I do it all myself. Look, I'll pop in a few photographs and bits and pieces, but it's easy service, this bike, you mightn't believe it. Example, when I go to do the valves, which I've done 2 or 3 times, I can pull this cap off here on this side. Just pop it off. Any other bike, you have to take the tank off, dismantle the fairings, whatever. This is really, really easy to service. I take off the cover, I can do the valves. When it comes to the oil and the fuel filter, again, very, very simple. Now the back end, I service the back end. There's back end oil because of the drive shaft. I can just loosen the nut. 180 millilitres, I believe, of the back end oil was put into it. The drive shaft, when I first got this bike, I had difficulty getting the back end separated from the drive shaft when I got it off of the rubber mallet, and I greased it up. Ever since then, I do it every 2 years. I just open the bolts and it drops down now, clean it, put in the grease and back in again. Simple procedure, but you have to take your time and do it. The valves have been checked, have never been altered. They've never been altered in the 50,000 miles. The brakes also, they've been cleaned, but never replaced. So the original brakes that come on this bike are still on her, the pads that is. Okay, the back's gone down a little bit, but the front, they're fairly good. Another thing that has been taken out and cleaned and never replaced, although I have a set here, is the spark plugs. The original spark plugs are on this bike from she come from new, and they'll tell you to change them all in bits and pieces. Look, I would change them if she's given a wee bit of trouble or hard to start or something. Not a problem to change them, but until she gives me a wee bit of trouble, I will not be changing spark plugs. The negative is she's a heavy old girl. There's no point in saying different. I'm happy enough with her. If there was something else out there with the same comfort, maybe the same power and a bit lighter, I would look at it. There's an Axor out there, look at, it's not the same as this bike. I've driven this, I've driven the 1250s, I've driven the 1300s. They're fantastic bikes, they're just not for me. I'm looking something a little bit lighter with this suspension. It's not out there at the moment. So I'll hold on to this for another while. I'm happy enough. 50,000 miles, very little breakdowns. It's not the fact I had none. But I had a couple of incidents when I went, she's keyless, when I went to push the button on, she wouldn't turn on. I was away on a run one day. Tried it again, wouldn't work. But I carry a spare key, which is a little plastic one, as a backup. So I carry two keys with me all the time in case I lost one. There's a little plastic one. And you put it under the back mudguard, and it sends a signal to the brain that once you hold it up there, you push the button and it'll start. And I thought, well sure, what else can I do? It's either ring BMW or I'll try this spare key. Lucky enough, put the key up underneath, stretched round, hit the button, and bang, she switched on. Now she did that twice on me on 2 occasions, but you always start it. This bike has never failed to start in all the time I had her, and covered all those types of miles. So I just wanted to let people know what type of bike this is. I would drive anything, it makes no difference. As I said before, I love the Japanese stuff. I thought they were more reliable, and they are extremely reliable bikes. I was a wee bit afraid of this particular bike, and I thought the weakest point on this bike was the electronic suspension, which is a fantastic job. I was also a wee bit afraid of it because the movement of it is moving all the time. Oh, by the way, I have an air hook seat here too. I put that on. Not that there's anything, I don't hear any complaints about the seat. It's probably just me, but I find when I go touring, if I do 250 or 300 miles in a day, I need this wee boy under my arse. So I'm happy with that. So that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed it and you took something out of it. And if you did get something out of it or enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up and give us a like. Maybe, I made a bollocks of that, didn't I? If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to the channel. I'll talk to you again.